Welcome to BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner's web-based learning session, Introduction to Systemic Discrimination. We'd like to start by acknowledging our territory. BC OHRC's, or BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. Our office is located on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. And it's really important to acknowledge the territory in a session that is focusing on systemic discrimination because of historical and ongoing systemic discrimination that Indigenous people experience as a result of colonization and the policies and practices that were put in place and maintained after colonization. So considering how we may benefit from and contribute to systemic discrimination against Indigenous peoples and the roles we can play to address this, beginning with a territorial acknowledgement, is an important part of decolonization.
This self-guided learning session consists of 5 recorded modules. Each module builds on the learning from the previous one. We encourage you to watch the modules in order, but you may choose to select only those modules that focus on information that you are unfamiliar with or would like to review. The session is self-paced. Feel free to pause the recording, rewind it, repeat it, and to play it at the speed that works for you. For closed captioning, you can click on the CC button at the bottom of the recording. There are 3 types of interaction to support learning. The first type of interaction is reflection. Facilitators will invite you to pause and reflect throughout the session. Consider pausing the recording, reflecting on the questions, and recording your thoughts on a piece of paper or a Word document if you find that helpful. The second type of interaction is through our fillable handout. Handout packages are provided for each module, and some of the handout pages are formatted as fillable forms that you can complete after the module. Finally, some of the slides in this presentation can be used as tools that you can use after completing the module to reflect on how systemic discrimination shows up in your settings. These slides have a tool icon on them. We have provided a few learning supports to accompany the 5 learning module recordings. A PDF of each module presentation and an accompanying handout package can be downloaded using the buttons beside each recording.
Before exploring systemic discrimination, we'd like to introduce our office. BCOHRC was reinstated in 2019 after a 17-year absence under Commissioner Kasari Govender. Commissioner Govender just began her second 5-year term in September 2024. The role of our office and of the Commissioner is to provide access to justice on issues that the individual complaint system can never fully address. So BCOHRC is responsible for identifying the underlying causes of discrimination rather than the way it shows up in individual incidents. The office has a specifically systemic mandate. Our goal is to address the root causes of inequality, discrimination, and injustice in BC. And our vision is a province in which everyone's human rights are respected and our responsibilities to one another are met. We do this work by shifting laws, policies, practices, and cultures. I think it's also important to note that BC's Human Rights Commissioner is an independent office of the legislature. This means that the Commissioner reports directly to the legislature, so she's nonpartisan and can act independently of whatever party is in power. The role of the Human Rights Commissioner is created by law. It's in the BC Human Rights Code. So we aren't a political body, and we're more stable. The independent officer status allows the Commissioner to monitor the activities of both government and organizations that hold responsibilities under the BC's Human Rights Code. And this autonomy provides our office with the separation necessary to monitor activities of both the government and organizations. This autonomy also provides the commissioner with the power to advocate for change. And this can include compelling government and organizations to provide information. It also enables the commissioner to provide recommendations for reform to the government and the legislature. And it's through this advocacy work that the office is able to support public pressure and relationships with government.
Let's look at the learning goals for this web-based learning session. After participating in the 5 modules, you will be able to identify the key elements of systemic discrimination, explain the differences and relationship between systemic and interpersonal discrimination, become familiar with the nature and extent of impacts, identify who is impacted by systemic discrimination and where it appears, notice systemic discrimination in your daily lives, and begin reflecting on actions that you might take. Now, we will briefly touch on taking action on systemic discrimination, but most of the session focuses on understanding systemic discrimination and its impacts and developing strategies to notice it. We will share information about a follow-up session that focuses on actions at the end of our 5th module. During this session, we will ask you to reflect on systemic discrimination, including the impacts it has on different people in different settings or systems that they encounter in daily life. This topic may produce different reactions. Reactions may be based on personal experiences with systemic discrimination or a new awareness of possible roles we may play in contributing to it or benefiting from it. The session has been developed to provide a safer space where we lessen the chance of people experiencing harm. But it's important to point out that harm is very different from the discomfort that some participants may experience during the session. Sometimes considering different perspectives can lead to feelings of discomfort, as our brains tend to reject information that doesn't correspond to our existing understanding. And feelings of discomfort may show up as guilt, shame, denial, or a desire to shut down. This discomfort can be an important first step in transformational learning. If you're experiencing feelings of discomfort, it may be helpful to be curious about that discomfort. You can ask yourself, why am I feeling it? And what can I learn from it? That said, we do want to make sure that you do what you need to do to take care of yourselves throughout the session. This could involve pausing the recording, stepping away for a minute, taking deep breaths, or refreshing your beverage. A list of supports to access after the session is available in your handout package.
So this is an introductory session and no prior knowledge or experience is required. So we're going to take a second to ask you to reflect on these questions now and at the end of the session. This will help you to identify how successful we were in supporting you in meeting the session learning goals. Please take 2 minutes to reflect on the 3 questions on the slide. How confident do you feel about recognizing systemic discrimination? You might want to rate down on your paper between 1 and 5, with 1 not at all confident and 5 extremely confident. The second question is, how confident do you feel about describing systemic discrimination to a colleague, friend, or family member? The third question is, how would you describe your awareness of the impacts of systemic discrimination? And again, rate 1 to 5, with 1 not at all aware and 5 extremely aware. Consider writing your answers on a slip of paper or a notes or Word document so that you can compare it with how you responded at the end of these modules. And as with all of the reflection questions during these web-based learning sessions, we invite you to take the time you need to do this. Pause the recording and start it again when you are ready.
Let's take a minute to introduce the learning modules. You're coming to the end of Module 1, the session Introduction. Module 2 answers the question, what is systemic discrimination? In Module 3, you will explore the impacts of systemic discrimination. Module 4 focuses on noticing systemic discrimination, and Module 5 briefly considers what we can do to address systemic discrimination. In the next module, we will engage you in reflections on what systemic discrimination is, we'll provide real examples, and we'll introduce some tools to help identify it. Before proceeding to Module 2, we invite you to download the PDF of the presentation and handout for Module 1. The handout includes a list of supports that you may find useful. Thank you for participating in Module 1 of Introduction to Systemic Discrimination.